Good evening, everyone. At this time, we'll go ahead and ask Pastor Bailey from the New Beginnings Church for the invocation.
Lord, tonight we're grateful for, first, each of the city council members, their dedication, their willingness to serve, and we pray that they would experience your blessing and their strength. We are grateful to them and to you as they provide direction and safety for our city. I pray, dear Lord, that you would give them strength and courage in these uncertain times, and that they would be helped in their resolve to fulfill the scripture that says, "He has shown you, O mortal, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you? To act justly, and to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God." Strengthen them, bless them, and thank you for them. And we pray this in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. We'll now call the meeting to order at 6:01, and we'll ask Commander Melton to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll ask for the roll call from the city clerk, Miss Melanie.
Present.
Here.
Here.
We have a quorum. We'll now move to consideration of the approval of agenda. I'll take a motion. Second?
Second.
I have a motion for Jones and a second for Lamas to approve agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Noes? Aye. Agenda is approved. Next, we'll go to our presentations. And we have one special presentation. I'll step down here. This is going to be recognizing the Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Would you ladies like to come up? All right, the City of Los Banos Proclamation recognizing October 2022 as Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Whereas, other than skin cancer, breast cancer is the most common cancer among American women. Most breast cancers are found in women who are 50 years or older, but breast cancer also affects younger women. And whereas in 2022, an estimated of 287,500 new cases of breast cancer will be diagnosed in women in the United States, as well as 51,400 new cases of non-invasive breast cancer. And whereas men also get breast cancer, but it is not very common. About 1 out of every 100 breast cancer cases diagnosed in the United States is found in a man. And whereas risk of getting many common kinds of cancers, including breast cancer, can be lowered by making healthier choices, having regular screenings, and getting certain types of vaccines. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Mayor Pro Tem and the City Council members of the City of Los Banos do hereby recognize October 2022 as Breast Cancer Awareness Month and encourage all women and men to educate themselves and partake in preventive measures that aid in lowering the risk of attaining any type of cancer. But it further proclaimed that the Mayor Pro Tem and the City Council members of the City of Los Banos do hereby remember and commemorate the lives that have been lost this deadly disease. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused to be effect the seal of the City of Los Banos, the 5th day of October, 2022. And I present this to our fire department ladies and the police department dispatchers.
Thank you.
And would anyone like to? No, you go.
Just real quick, our associations have linked up together, the Fire Association and the Dispatcher Community Service Association, and we're raising money for a good cause for breast cancer awareness. You can support us by purchasing shirts at the fire station. We will also be at the football game on Friday, and we're going to have, the committee will nominate somebody, and we'll go ahead and make sure that those fundings go back into our community to that specific person. So we're raising a good cause, and we thank everybody, the fire station staff as well, for helping out in this great cause. All right, thank you guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Now we move to our next item. Item 6, the public forum.
Thank you. On item 5, we have one other proclamation that wasn't read. Even though that person may not be here, we've always read our proclamations into record, and I think it's only fair that we do that for our former mayor who resigned because he moved out of the city of Los Banos. So I'm requesting that to be read into record. I'll give you my copy. It should have been in your report.
All right, this is resolution number 6557, a resolution of commendation to Manuel Thomas Fiera III. Whereas Manuel Thomas Fiera III was elected as council member of Los Banos on November 27th, 2006, and mayor of Los Banos on December 2nd, 2020. And whereas Manuel Thomas Fiera III has faithfully served the city of Los Banos and the city council for 14 years as council member and the last 2 years as mayor. And whereas by the devotion to his duties, Manuel Thomas Fiera III has greatly contributed to the governmental process of the city of Los Banos. Now therefore it be resolved by the city council of the city of Los Banos that is hereby expresses its sincere gratitude and appreciation to Manuel Thomas Fiera III for the service to the city of Los Banos in his capacity of the council member and mayor. Be it further resolved that an embossed copy of this resolution be presented to Tom Fiera, Manuel Thomas Fiera III. The foregoing resolution was adopted at the regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Los Banos held on the 5th day of October 2022 by the following affirmative vote. We vote on this as a resolution?
Okay, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I'd like to make a motion to accept the resolution as read into record.
And do I have a second?
I'll second.
Call for a vote. Ms. Lucy?
Jones,
Yes.
Lambert,
Yes?
Lewis.
Yes.
Lamas.
Yes.
Okay. That is all approved. No nays. And we appreciate his great work that he's done for the city. Now we'll move on to the next item, item number 6, the public forum. Members of the public may address the city council members on any item of public interest that is within the jurisdiction of the city council. Includes agenda and non-agenda items. No action will be taken on non-agenda items. Speakers are limited to a 5-minute presentation. Detailed guidelines are posted on the council chambers informational table. At this time, I would like to invite the public to come forward and speak. I also want to remind those in the council chambers to either turn their cell phones off or on to silent.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak, and I hope that this is in order. After having to take 2 years off because of the pandemic, New Beginnings is redoing what has become to be the largest, you would call it Halloween event on October 31st. In previous years, we've had upwards beyond 2,000 people in our parking lot. And it's a safe place. It's a fun place. It takes the Halloween celebration that is surrounded by darkness, isolation, fear, lack of safety, and replaces it with light, community. It's for everybody. It's fun. And above all, it's safe and non-scary. We plan to have police and firefighters so the kids can go in the fire trucks and get to meet the police. New Beginnings is a big supporter of both law enforcement, firefighters, and first responders. And we do this as a community blessing. A former mayor that came every year and addressed us was known to say every year, the darker the rest of Los Banos was, without kids going door to door and so forth, and the brighter New Beginnings was, the happier he was. And we want Los Banos to know that there is a safe, fun, exciting place for kids on what has proverbially been called Halloween. We call it the Harvest Fun Festival. I'd like to invite all the city council members to feel free to come. We'd even be glad to present you and have people cheer for you and get to know you better. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you.
It's me again. I'm here. I live in the mobile home park where the homeless are next to us. Because of them having built fires with tires, I wound up in the hospital again for 5 hours. They had to give me IVs. I couldn't breathe. I was getting chest pain because of all the smoke from the tires that they were burning. You know, that's not fair to all of us that live in the mobile home park, or to me, because I've already been in the hospital at 9.
Could you identify yourself again? I'm sorry.
Claudia Nunez.
Thank you.
I've already been in the emergency room almost 10 hours because of them. It's not fair to me to have to put up with this stuff. They need to be moved, or until I have a feeling, this is my personal feeling, you guys aren't going to do anything about it until somebody dies. It's going to be too late by then. It's going to be too late, and I hope it's not anybody of my neighbors. To me, they're all my neighbors that live there in the mobile home park. And that's why I speak out, because a lot of them are afraid of the homeless, because they've come into the mobile homes when the people are in there by themselves. What if they kill and rape somebody in there? I don't know if it would matter to you guys, but it sure as heck matters to me. And also I wanted to let you guys know that because I live on Medicare and Medi-Cal, I don't think it's fair for them to have to pay for my visits to the emergency room for 10 hours. So I'm going to send the bills to the city. I think it's fair since you guys put them there, keep them there, don't do anything about them, about moving them. I don't think that my Medi-Cal should have, or Medicare should have to pay for my visit to the emergency room. So I'm just letting you guys know that I am going to send the bills. I'm going to tell the hospital to send the bills to the city. And I hope that none of you think I'm crazy because I'm going to do that, but it's not fair. You guys aren't being fair to none of us who live in that mobile home park. To have to be worried if somebody comes into our mobile home. What if one of the homeless kills somebody, rapes somebody? Are you guys even going to care? Honestly, think about it. I don't think you guys would care. As long as it wasn't your family, your grandkids, your nieces, nephews, I don't think you give a damn.
Good evening. My name is Chandra Lewis, and I'm a resident of Los Banos, and my home is at Rancho Los Banos Mobile Home Park. Monday evening, I received a phone call from a tenant. She was scared, she was upset, and because they set another car on fire. This was Monday night. The smoke was so bad, it could have sent me. I have interstitial lung disease. You can look that up. It's a terrible disease. I don't need to be around the smoke because it shortens my lifespan. Do you want to take 1 or 2 years off of my life every time I have to go out and call the police? Because you are doing that to me. This is personal. It is no longer, they are residents of Los Banos. You are afraid because of the Boise Act. You're afraid that you have to put up with them, but you allow them to be violent, destructive, at my cost. You are taking my life into your hands. I have documentation if you want to see my interstitial lung disease. You may see my medical records if you like. I see a pulmonologist. I see Dr. Patel in Merced. It is not pleasant to smell that smoke. I had to endure it the next night. I had to call the police department because, again, they had another fire going. When will you respect my life? When will you respect it? I'm asking, when will you respect my life as a person? Yes, there are people also, but you put them in a place that they're not easily accessed. There is no law for them. They are allowed to do what they want to because you are afraid of the Boise Act. There are other ways that you can get around that. And you just need to think about it. Whose life do you care about? The homeless or the taxpayers' people? Because I'm not the only one that have health issues. I was told by a tenant today that she was cooking breakfast at 5 a.m. and they tried to get in her back door. They took her barbecuer. So, and these come in all the time. And I can come here every time, and I look at you guys, and I know you guys cannot answer me. So I don't know exactly how you feel, because you guys cannot answer. But this is scary. If you had to see a fire every night, and your tenants are calling, and they're scared, they're throwing propane bottles into the fire, and there's explosions all the time out there. Why are they allowed to do that? Why are we terrified? Why are we terrified? Why Why aren't we protected as citizens? Why are they allowed to get away with it? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Tom Bellotti. It's hard to follow that. I feel for your folks. I think these people are trying, and it's a tough answer, but I feel for you. Good evening, everybody. I'm just here to ask you to get a mayor appointed tonight. I guess it's agenda item number 9. I was happy to see in one of the local papers that Mr. Lamas is in support of getting somebody appointed tonight, and so our city can go on and function. And I have one other question. There was a public notice in today's Enterprise about being mayor for a month. If you can't get a mayor appointed, I'll be happy to apply for it. But I love Los Banos, and I want to see things resolved around here. All right, thank you very much. And I promised my 99-year-old mother I'd say hello to her on TV. Good night.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Patricia McCoy. I'm a Los Banos resident. I am here on behalf of the Los Banos American Legion and VFW. I would like to I would like to invite and inform the City Council and the community that after a 2-year hiatus, the Los Banos Veterans Parade, which is hosted by the American Legion and VFW here in town, will be resuming. It will be held, as always, the week before Veterans Day, so it will be held on Saturday, November 5th at 11 a.m. This year's theme is Salute to the Navy. Every year we have a theme, mostly for the Most Patriotic School contest that we'll be doing again. But obviously, all veterans are welcomed, as well as anyone that is interested in showing their support and appreciation for our veterans. If you would like to participate in the parade, there's an entry form on our brand new website. That website is losbanosveterans.org. And we're also looking for volunteers to help the day before, the morning of, during the parade, and afterwards. And there is a volunteer entry form also on that website. I'm not sure if I said this, but this is the 7th annual Los Banos Veterans Parade, and this will be my 4th year of chairing that parade. So thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Blanche George. I live here in downtown Los Banos, and nothing pressing that's on your agenda. But being that there's many residents that live in the downtown area, I wanted to express to the council, and I know that most of you know this, but there are some of the original neighborhoods to Los Banos, all around you right now, and in several blocks around you. Some of these homes started to get built in the late 1800s, some 1905, mine 1910. There was a big fire in 1918, but let me mention to you some of the buildings besides the homes, and you're going to realize that a lot of the homes were built prior or stayed away from the serious fire in 1918 when there was the pandemic that happened back then. The Bank of Italy was built in 1924. The IWOF Oddfellows Building was built in 1917. The DES Hall, the new one, was built in 1930. The Bellotti car dealership was completed in 1930. It was originally started in 1923. Sometimes it took a few individuals, it took a few years to get something built. And by the time they registered it with Horse and and carriage down to Merced. It was a few years after that. So some homes may have been built earlier, but they were registered later. The St. Joseph's Church on K Street was built in 1891. We do have a lot of buildings and homes, and if you wish to do some research on it, there is a really nice place to go to. It's called, you'll Google, Sanborn Fire Insurance. They were the premier fire insurance company way back in the day, and they made planned maps for every city in the United States. If you Google that and add Los Banos, up will pop the Library of Congress, and you will see exactly what was here before City Hall. And you will see what was in the corner, maybe a carriage or horse overnight stay. So when there's decisions made, and I'm not saying anything on either which way, growth does have to happen. But please remember that there's historical, not only buildings, but there's historical homes all around us. And they were the original. We had a city council woman, Nikki Smith, that coined downtown Los Banos as the living room of the city. I say that some of the homes around downtown are actually the foyer, the entrance of downtown. So please, when you're driving in and out, I know that you look, but you'll see water spout chains. You'll see, like in my home, I have a, I instantly forgot the name, but it's a hitching post for horses. So you'll see some of these unique things downtown that originally still stand. So I just wanted to just express something, and please, everybody go to Sanborn Fire Insurance, Google Los Banos, and also up will pop the Library of Congress, and you'll get to see everything that's beautiful about Los Banos. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for what you guys do. I have 1 minute. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kathy Ballard, resident of Los Banos. I'm back again. There are a few items I wanted to speak on, but I'm only going to speak on this push to fill our mayor position with an election on November 8th, and most likely to be confirmed shortly after. I don't understand the reason to do this. I don't know how many people here are going to apply, but it's obviously going to be one person that's here. He will get the nod of approval, and this is all a farce. We would need to know the secret agenda for doing this to understand. With no one running against Paul, he most likely, from information I've received from Merced County, would get certified quickly, and the only thing that would delay it would be a recount or a close race. With only one person running, it's not going to be a close race. I understand what Mr. Bellotti was saying. I feel strongly that our city could run until that time with just the four of you. Unless you could give me a reason why we should fall apart in such a short period of time, or what plans could not go through without our having a person there now. The only thing I can think of is getting help for our fire department that is so badly needed. I can't see why that wouldn't be a 4-0 vote. I don't understand why you need a next person. My last question is, I am on the Measure H committee, which was a requirement to pass that measure. I've been to 2 meetings, the one right after the election, one other one, and then nothing. I know it's COVID, then we couldn't get enough people appointed. From what I understand, there are 3 people now, and I still have not heard anything as a member of a meeting. I want to know where this money has been spent, how it's been spent, and how much money is left. of what was received by that 0.5% sales tax that the citizens of Los Banos passed because they thought it was going to our fire, our police, and 15% to recreational. I have no idea where this money's been spent since it's been passed. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Anyone else?
Hi, my name's Roy Todd. I have a nexus to all 4 of the districts here. I have a business in both ends of town. I live in Brett's district, and my nephew lives in, I believe, your district, Ken. So want to echo what Sandy's kind of like a business neighbor of mine, I guess you could say. And I just now learned, literally a minute ago, I thought Sandy was watchdogging that Measure H. I got phone calls all the time. Roy, please support that. Okay, so I've been doing all this pro bono work for how many years? Collecting sales tax at both ends of town. Well, mostly at the other end of town for a while. And now I find out that the watchdog's taking a nap somewhere because they won't let her play. Right, so that, like I said, I wasn't planning on that, even talking about that until I just heard it. So there you go. I had an idea for the mayor situation. That's why I asked him before the meeting. I gotta have more than a minute left. Right before the meeting, I asked the mayor-elect what district he lived in, and when I found out what district he lived in, that kind of blew that idea. But anyway, I just felt like somebody that's the top person should be, elected first. So that's kind of just how I feel about that, just on a personal level. All right. Okay, if we could go to number 7D, we're talking about purchasing an SUV, full size. By my calculations, the one that's on, that's currently in use, has been averaging about 6,800 miles a year. I'm not real up on what municipalities and so forth are allowed to do as far as that's concerned, but that sure sounds like a lease to me. I don't see any reason to spend $54,000 when you could lease something, because you're just basically paying the interest, up front on that lease anyway. So, then you can get a nice one. You can get another one in 3 to 5 years and all things, but maybe you can't do that. We'll throw it out there just for a thing. Also, letter D under 7. We're talking about doing this subdivision and so forth and so on. So a few years ago, they had a community involvement with trying to get Pacheco to flow better from a traffic standpoint and so forth and so on. In doing that, part of the initiative was to put some medians in, add some capacity to the left-hand turn lanes to make everything flow better and so forth and so on. So I see with this new development here on Mercy Springs, it doesn't seem like anybody's putting any of that in, that same concept into play. I mean, so you have to learn from what supposedly works. Okay, so I sure would like to see some medians put in there. They're all double striped down there. You see people going across solid lines. You're seeing people go across there all the time. And so it's not safe, and I don't understand why it's okay for Pacheco and it's not okay for the 165. The Environmental Quality Act, I would just like an explanation what's all involved with that, because I know that every year I have somebody come out and audit my place, and they literally count how many plants are in the ground and what kind of plants they are, and are they the original one that that you agreed to put in there 10 years ago or whatever it was, right? So I don't understand the disconnect between new business and old ones. Why do the old ones get a free ride all the time when the new ones have to pay have to pay the price for that? Because the only way you're going to make the town look nice is to get all this stuff up to speed, painted at least or something, right? And just make it look nice. You want people to drive in here and go, wow, I want to live there someday. Boy, I wish I could live there. We don't need Fresno. We want Clovis. We don't want Fresno, okay? We certainly don't want like Compton, all right? Okay. Finally, the folks in the trailer park, there's nobody that's dealt with the homeless as much as I have. Maybe the police, because I'm always calling them to come out and help me, all right? Because I was told by a former mayor, Roy, why are you always going out there getting people off your property? Isn't that the police jobs? I go, I don't know. I don't want to call them. Okay, they got better things to do. But so at the end of the day, I sure would like to see a strategy for the homeless, an overall strategy. I don't think you could just. Everybody has a different reason for being unhoused, I guess is the new term, right? So I'd like to see a strategy where you basically Pareto what kind of situation you're dealing with, and then you go after the low-hanging fruit first, like somebody that's there not because they want to be, all right, not because they're addicted to drugs or whatever. I've seen needles in places all over here. I drive up and down back and forth on Pacheco all day long, so I know. So that being said, I just want to close with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have anyone else? No one else? We'll close the floor and move to the city clerk and see if there's any been emails.
I have one item to be read. Good evening, everyone. My name is Maria Salinas, and I live at the Rancho Los Banos Mobile Home Park. Since April 2022, numerous residents of the Rancho Los Banos Mobile Home Park community have been present at the city council meetings. We come to every meeting hoping that this will be the meeting where our concerns regarding the homeless encampment that is located on the other side of our fence are taken seriously. It is now month 7, and the city's inaction is unacceptable. Enough is enough. The homeless encampment has to go. On Monday evening, I heard a loud boom followed by a strong smell of smoke. I walked outside and there was a car on fire at the homeless encampment. It was scary and very stressful to see the high flames. All I can think of was the fire engine needed to get there fast to control it so it wouldn't spread to our side of the fence. All this while my neighbors and I are inhaling the toxic black smoke. These fires are happening more and more often. About a week and a half ago, I had to call 911 to report another fire with very high flames and thick black smoke. And not too long ago, we heard gunshots coming from the homeless encampment. There are very serious and dangerous incidents, and it's not a matter of if a tragedy is going to happen in our community. It is more a matter of when. So what are you city leaders waiting for? The lives, livelihoods, and safety of our community are just as important as all of you and anyone else in Los Banos. If something happens here, it will be very easy for us to file a lawsuit against the city because we have been voicing our concerns at your meetings for 7 months now. Thank you. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Melanie. And then there's no more emails. We'll go ahead and close the forum. And we'll move to the next item, item 7, the consideration of the approval of the consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda are considered to be routine and will be voted on in one motion unless removed for the consent agenda by a city council member. I will now ask if there's any items that need to be removed for discussion or a separate vote. Oh. Ms. Melanie, would you?
Oh, do you want me to read them?
Yes, ma'am,
Okay.
please.
Items on the consent agenda are as follows. Warrant numbers 235085 through 235287 in the amount of $2,009,119.97. Minutes for the September 21st, 2022 City Council meeting. City Council Resolution Number 6558, reauthorizing remote teleconference meetings of the legislative bodies of the City of Los Banos pursuant to the provisions of AB 361. City Council Resolution Number 6559, awarding the bid for the purchase of a new 2023 full-size sport utility vehicle. Authorize the Public Works Director, City Engineer to issue the purchase order to Sanis Ford in the amount of $56,412.51. City Council Resolution Number 6560, approving and accepting parcel map number 2021-03 for the minor subdivision of approximately 7.57 acre parcel into 3 parcels within the Highway Commercial Zoning District located at northwest corner of Merced Springs Road and Overland Avenue, along the dedications of 2 public utility easements located south of Overland Avenue and east of Merced Springs Road, APN 424-120024, Lebanon Elevator, LLC. City Council Resolution Number 6561, approving the acceptance of a $50,000 grant, PT 23126, from the California Office of Traffic Safety and amending the 2022-2023 fiscal year budget by increasing the appropriation amount of the state grant fund account for expenditures and revenues in the amount of $50,000. City Council Resolution Number 6562, ratifying the interim city manager's approval of the employment agreement with Fire Chief Paul Tuwala. And the items are to be approved as submitted.
Thank you, Ms. Melanie. Now I'll ask the council if there's any items to be pulled. Councilmember Lewis?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Yes, I'd like to pull item 7D, 7E, and 7G. And some of this is just for clarification.
Thank you. Okay, then we'll go ahead and go to item D, the City Council Resolution Number 6559, and we'll turn to Engineer Land.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Councilmember Lewis, is there specific questions you have
Yes,
for item D?
thank you. In the report, it indicates that the bid for this vehicle was sent to the Merced Sunstar on the 26th. And I'm assuming, that it was closed on, that was August 26th, and it was closed on August 20th. Were there any other bids that came in on this project?
It was closed on September 20th.
On September 20th,
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
this
yes.
was the only bid we received. When we post typically for bid, we also go through various bidder exchange also. So the newspaper was our legal advertisement, but we also have various bid exchange, and we'll also reach out to a lot of the dealerships, different, not just Fords, Chevys, Dodge and stuff for this particular vehicle also.
Okay. And for clarification, we had a member of the audience that asked the question about why we are purchasing a vehicle that we use for a short period of time due to mileage rather than leasing. So can you address that?
Yeah, so this vehicle is not getting replaced mainly because of mileage, but due to the San Joaquin Valley Air District's vehicles that is older than 2008, especially within the fleet for the cities, are actually being phased out due to the air compliance. So the maintenance, yes, it's a portions of it, but mainly it's because of that compliance. So a lot of our sport, not just SUV, but our pickup trucks and stuff are all being phased out. That is 2008 and older.
Okay, thank you. And that was my question on that, so I'll move to
Okay. Item E.
item E.
Okay, the City Council Resolution Number 6560 will also turn to Engineer Mr. Than.
For this one, the same thing. Do you have any specific questions?
Yes, I do. In the staff report under discussion, it states that the subject is generally located at the northeast corner of Mercy Springs. And when I looked at the map, the area that's outlined is actually the southeast corner of Mercy Springs and Overland. So am I reading this incorrectly, or was that an error in the report?
I apologize for that, council member. That's just a great catch. It's actually on the southeast corner of Overland. The map, the exhibits on the map is correct.
Okay. So then, when we get ready to make a motion, I don't know if there's some other document that outlines this, but at least for the staff report, I'd like to make a correction that it is on the southeast corner. Okay, and that's my question on that for clarification.
Just one quick question on that one, Ms. Lewis. I'll see if I, it actually, so the utility assessment's located south of Overland Avenue and east of Mercy Springs Road. That would put it, okay, so instead it would put it on the southwest side?
The map shows that it's on the southeast side of Overland and Mercy Springs, but the staff report says it's on the northeast side. So the correction, according to our staff, is that it is on the southeast side of.
Okay, so it's just actually that one word, because down at the bottom, it actually says located south of Overland Avenue and east of Mercy Springs Road. So
It
it's just
says northeast.
But if you drop down, the same assessments are located, I guess it's just that one word that they got caught right there.
Yeah, just correcting the
On there,
report.
right, so I'm just getting at that one spot there.
Okay, and so we'll go over to, my next one would be item G.
Okay, City Council Resolution Number 6562. And this one is ratifying the interim city manager's approval of the employment agreement with the Fire Chief Paul Tuala. We'll go to the city manager, interim city manager, Mr. Wellman.
So my question to our interim city manager and, perhaps the city attorney can help out in this, but in the staff report, at the bottom of the first page, it goes into the agreements, and it talks about the base salary, effective date, start, and then when under retirement, it says contribution will be 7%, but in parentheses, it says 12%. All the rest of the parentheses percentages agree. So I need to know what is it? Is it 7% or 12? It's 12.
I picked that up myself.
Okay, so in the agreement,
Yeah.
okay, and I just want to make sure that in the agreement that it states the 7% as well.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure where that lies in there, so.
Thank you for catching that. That's a good catch.
Okay, and those are my questions for the evening. Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
All right, I got, Mr. Lamas, did you have a question? Or,
On the item Delta D regarding the vehicle. Now, the county of Merced is moving towards all leased vehicles just for that same reason. Is that something the city's going to do as well?
That's correct, council member. So we've been phasing them out. So there's about 5 other utility vehicles that are budgeted for this year also.
Very well. Thank you very much. That was all.
Yeah.
okay, thank you, Mr. Lamas. All right, now we'll entertain a motion of the approval of the consent agenda as read. Do I have a motion? Councilmember Lewis?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda with the corrections as stated on the record by myself for items D, item E and item G.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. I have a second from Councilmember Lamas, and this is going to be with the correction of item E, with the correction of the southeast corner. All in favor?
Aye.
No noes. Motion is passed. We'll move on to our next item, item number 8, the public hearing. If you challenge the proposed action as described herein in court, you may be limited to raising only those issues you or someone else raised at the public hearing described herein or written correspondence delivered to the city at or prior to the public hearing. And we'll go to item A, public hearing. To receive public comment and consideration of a conditional use permit 2022-09 and a categorical exemption from the California Environmental Code Act, CEQA, pursuant to Section 15301, existing facilities to allow the use of a Type 41 alcohol license for the on-sale of beer and wine for a bona fide eating place. The Roundup Sports Bar located at 830 I Street, APN 026143003. And we'll now turn to the Economic Development Director, Ms. Helms.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. So tonight we'll be looking at a conditional use permit for the Roundup Sports Bar. Just a bit of background on this particular item. The Planning Commission recommended approval of this conditional use permit on September 14th, 2022, after holding a public hearing. This location at 830 I Street, where the Roundup Sports Bar is proposed to be located, this location historically operated as a bar. It operated, as long as I can remember, as a bar, Dutra's Bar. And then within the past decade, there have been various restaurants. The last restaurant was the Los Banos Sports Bar and Grill that did operate with a Type 41 alcohol license. But in the instance that the use of alcohol has lapsed for more than a year, it is required, that use is required to secure a conditional use permit to be able to utilize that use again. So that's what is the proposal before you tonight. It is needed for issuance, as I stated, for any ABC license. It is a Type 41 for the on-sale of beer and wine only in conjunction with a bona fide eating place. It will be regulated by ABC, the Alcohol Beverage Control of the state of California, and the proposed hours of operation are Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. to 11 p.m., and then Friday through Sunday, 10 a.m. to 12 a.m. This is the proposed location at 830 I Street. This location is on the north side of I Street. It's between 8th Street and 9th Street. It's highlighted for you in yellow in that aerial. And as you may recall, this was the location of Dutra's Bar, but it was also the location of the Paper and Dutra's Towing. And it has exchanged hands recently and will be under new operation and new ownership. And actually, the Roundup Sports Bar will be a second restaurant venture. The owners actually own and operate Courtyard Mimosas off of Pacheco, off of West Pacheco, and this will be their second restaurant operation. So according to CEQA, the California Environmental Quality Act, this project has been deemed to be categorically exempt per Article 19, Section 15301, in that it is an existing facility. And I do want to take just a moment to talk about CEQA. I normally don't because this is a categorical exemption. It is an existing facility, but in that Mr. Todd brought up and asked about CEQA. I'll take a few moments just to talk about CEQA. So the state of California requires each project, so anytime a project or an entitlement is considered a project, it requires an environmental review. And a part of that environmental review, there is a whole sequence of items, elements that we need to analyze. They go from traffic to air quality, noise, cultural resources, biological resources, land use, public facilities, you name it, it is all in there. So this particular project is deemed to be a categorical exemption in that it is an existing facility. It's not expanding its footprint. It is not impacting the environment is essentially the finding that we're making with this particular project. I will note that in the item that Mr. Todd brought up at the public forum, just to clarify, that's actually an item of your conditions of approval of your original project approval that requires a 1-year maintenance of your landscaping. So totally separate from CEQA. The two don't correlate with each other. So use permit analysis, staff has analyzed this within the criteria and findings established within the Los Banos Municipal Code. There are general use permit criteria, and then in addition, our municipal code requires on-sale criteria for alcohol. And actually, it's an alcohol in general. It has its own findings. And then in addition to that, the issuing authority is ABC, the Alcoholic Beverage Control. This particular project is located in Census Tract 22.01. You can see it's on the north side of Pacheco Boulevard. It's bound by Mercy Springs, Badger Flat Road, and then H Street and Ingomar Grade. And currently within that central portion of the city, there are currently 12 active on-site licenses. And if approved tonight, this would be the 13th active on-site license. This is the proposed floor plan and security plan. The areas highlighted in yellow are the proposed camera locations. There will be ingress and egress off of I Street and off of the parking lot. So there's 2 points of entrance, ingress and egress. And this next photo shows the inside of the location. So there is a front dining counter that will be utilized. And this is the dining room. And this is the exterior of the building that faces I Street. So public comment, public hearing notices were published in the Merced Sun-Star and mailed to 300-foot radius. And this was done on Friday, September 23rd, 2022. And as of today's date, no comments have been received. So with that, staff is recommending that the City Council will consider adopting Resolution 6563, finding the proposed project to be categorically exempt from CEQA pursuant to Article 19, Section 15301, in that it is an existing facility, and approve conditional use permit number 2022-09 to allow for the on-sale of beer and wine under a Type 41 alcohol license for the Roundup Sports Bar located at 830 I Street. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Ms. Helms. And I'll check with the council. Mr. Lamas?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Director, thank you very much for that report. Just had just a clarifying question. The picture denoting the establishment, and it's outlined in yellow with the big orange arrow.
Mm-hmm.
Now, within that facility, is that area going to be used for parking as well for that?
Yes, the entire site will be utilized for the restaurant and just the restaurant only.
Okay.
So that whole area in yellow will also be parking.
Roger. Thank you very much.
You're
That's all I have, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Lamas. And I'll now open it up to the public. If there's anyone that would like to speak in reference to this item. Means that we have no one here to speak. I will now ask for a motion. Oh, let's close the public hearing. And we'll move to accept a motion to approve the resolution number 6563 as read. Councilmember Jones?
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem, I'd like to make a motion to approve City Council Resolution number 6563 as submitted.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Councilmember Lamas?
Mr. Al, second that.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilmember Jones and a second by Councilmember Lamas. All in favor?
Aye.
Any noes? Motion has passed. We'll go to item B, to receive public comment and consideration of an amendment to the City of Los Banos Building Code Ordinance by adoption by reference the California Building Code 2022 edition and related 2022 edition codes. And we'll also turn to Community and Economic Development Director, Ms. Helms.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. I am going to introduce Mr. Mike Brinkman. He's our contract building official with CSG. He's going to give us the presentation tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Helms.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. The model building code is updated every 3 years. This allows the code to improve and adjust to the newest materials, method of construction, and technological advances in the industry. The California Building Standards Commission adoption of the 2022 code comes after a comprehensive multi-state agency and stakeholder update of the 2019 codes. The objective is to produce a practical code that ensures public safety while implementing the most efficient technological advance available to conserve the state's natural resources and energy use. California Building Code is applicable to virtually every commercial and residential structure in the state. The new 2022 California Building Code contains 13 parts that incorporate public health, life safety, general welfare, and standards used in the design and construction of buildings in California. There aren't too many updates that are noteworthy with this code cycle. A lot of it is just cleanup work and language and section changes. There are some noteworthy, though. Permit expiration used to be 6 months, and now it's been extended to 12 months before your permit expires if no activity. And there's a new aging in place design and fall prevention in residential construction. New residential construction, so that you can put grab bar backing in bathrooms and in large doorways to make sure that folks are able to stay in their houses longer as they age. And then they're expanding the electrical vehicle charging requirements for multifamily dwellings and hotel and motels. The Health and Safety Code mandates that the building standards contained in the 2022 California Buildings Codes shall become effective 180 days after publication. These codes are, if they are not adopted by ordinance, they become effective by default without any amendments. And the effective date for the City of Los Banos will be January 1st, 2023. As part of the adoption process, we've made every effort to notify all affected parties of the proposed changes. That concludes my report. If you have any questions.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, if I may add.
Okay.
Also a part of, for your consideration tonight is a resolution with fire code amendments. So in addition to the building code, the City of Los Banos is allowed to make more restrictive standards if they deem it necessary for our local conditions. And this is just for our fire code. So if you can recall, every 3 years, our fire chief usually comes with Mike to make this presentation and discusses the 13 amendments that are unique and special to Los Banos that we provide within our fire code. Within the fire code, so is located in Part 9 of Regulations Title 24, which is a part of the California Building Code standard. But those 13 amendments, they are outlined in their own ordinance. It does take an effect. It would go into effect also January 1st, so it would run concurrent as those changes are affected with the building code. It would be triggered at the same time. Those 13 amendments are special to Los Banos and have been identified over the history of our community based on our climate and based on our community and our special needs. Some of those range from who can regulate permits, assistance from other agencies. Knox boxes are required for entrance into commercial buildings. There's an automatic sprinklers, an automatic fire extinguisher system. We have alternative automatic fire extinguisher systems, portable fire extinguishers. One that is very unique to Los Banos is our section about explosives and fireworks. We have a whole section how the fireworks stands work, how that process gets allocated, who can have fireworks, when are they allowed. So we are proposing also as a part of this an ordinance to update our fire code and our special amendments. So that concludes that report.
Okay, we'll go ahead. Do you want to go ahead and brief on that before I open public hearing on the first one?
Yeah, let's say you have any questions.
Okay, so on the first one, any questions regarding number one? Ms. Lewis?
Thank you. Mr. Brinkman, I didn't quite understand you from the dais. You said something about grab bars in the home for seniors to be able to stay longer in their home. Is that on new builds or is that on new builds and remodels? How does that work?
Just new construction,
New
any
construction.
new single-family house. The grab bars won't be installed. It will be backing to support future grab
I
bars.
see. Okay. All right. And then my last question is for Mrs. Elms. The proposal for these upgrades for our fire department, is that coming to council? Is that being worked on now?
No, that's included in your packet. It's its own ordinance. It's also, there's ordinance number 1 of the packet is for the building code, and then number 2 is for the fire code amendments. They're their own separate ordinances. They should be listed on the agenda. They are listed separately.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay, for the item one, I'll go ahead and open up the public hearing for the item number one. Okay, see no one here for the public hearing. We'll close that public hearing for the item number one. And this is going to be a motion to waive the first reading of ordinance number 1199 as read, adopting by reference the building code. And if all in favor, I'm going to take a motion. Councilmember Jones.
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem, I'd like to make a motion to waive the first reading of ordinance number 1199 as read by title.
Do I have a second? Councilmember Lomas.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I'll second that.
Thank you. I have a motion from Councilmember Jones to waive the ordinance and a second by Alamis. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. No opposed. That motion passed. Now we'll.
Motion to introduce that.
Okay, I'll take a motion to introduce the ordinance, the same ordinance, 1199.
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem, I'd like to make a motion to introduce ordinance number 1199 as read by title.
Do I have a second? Councilmember Lomas?
Mr. I'll second that.
I have a motion, Councilmember Jones, to introduce the ordinance 1199, and a second from Alamis. And this is a roll call vote, and I'll turn to Ms. Melanie for a roll call.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
The introduced ordinance has passed. Now we'll move to the next item, number 2, the ordinance number 1200, adopting by reference the 2022 edition of the California Fire Code by amendment to the Title IV, Chapter 3 of the Los Banos Municipal Code and adoption of local amendments thereto. And the first reading and introduction. And I'll open up the public hearing for this one. I see no one in the public hearing. This is going to, we'll take a motion to waive the first reading of the ordinance number 1200. Councilmember Lewis.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I'd like to make a motion to waive the first reading of ordinance number 1200 as read by title.
Thank you, Councilmember Jones.
I'll second that.
I have a motion from Councilmember Lewis, a second from Councilmember Jones to waive the first reading of ordinance number 1200. All in favor?
Aye.
No noes? Okay. The waive was passed. Now we'll move to introduce the ordinance number 1200. And I'll make a motion. Councilmember Lewis?
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem, I'd like to make a motion to introduce ordinance number 1200 as read by title.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Councilmember Jones?
I'll second that.
I have a motion from Councilmember Lewis to introduce the new ordinance, number 1200, and second by Councilmember Jones. I'll turn to City Clerk, Ms. Melanie, for a roll call vote.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Motion has passed. Ordinance number 1200. We'll now move to item number 9, the consideration of approval of a city council resolution number 6564, filling the vacancy of the office of mayor by appointment to serve the unexpired term of the incumbent. And we'll now move to the interim city manager, Mr. Wellman.
Thank you, Mr. Pro Tem. The item has been written up in staff report, item 9, with the mayoral vacancy and with 4 separate recommendations. 1, to provide interested persons an opportunity to present to the city council their qualifications to fill a vacancy created by the resignation of Mayor Faria. 2, to consider the qualifications and presentations of interested persons. 3, should the council decide to appoint a qualified person to fill the vacancy by adoption of a resolution, and you've got a fill in the blanks resolution, if I may, attached to this item. And then lastly, to provide direction to staff on how to proceed. I should point out in the background that as a result of the resignation of Mayor Faria, effective September 17th, 2022, has resulted in the vacancy of the office of elected mayor. The next general election for mayor is scheduled for Tuesday, November 8th, 2022, and the Merced County Elections Officer, Registrar of Voters, has 30 days approximately to certify the results of the election. Upon the Merced County Election Officer certification, the City Council will then, by resolution, accept the election results at the regular meeting of the City Council. The foregoing process would be expected to conclude in December 2022 with the swearing in of a new mayor. It should be noted that as of the date of this staff report, there is only one current candidate running for mayor in the November 8th, 2022 general election. On September 21st, 2022, Councilmember Jones, during councilmember comments, requested an item be placed on the next agenda, allowing for the discussion, nomination, and appointment to fill the mayoral vacancy. Pursuant to Government Code Section 36512B, if a vacancy occurs in an elected office, the City Council must, within 60 days from the date of the vacancy, either fill the vacancy by appointment or call for a special election to fill the vacancy. Since there are only 34 days until the November 8th, 2022 election, the option to call a special election is a non-option. By appointment, underscored. There are no state laws or Los Banos Municipal Code provisions establishing specific procedures to make an appointment to fill a city council vacancy. No formal application process is required, and the city council may appoint any qualified person who is at least 18 years of age and a resident of Los Banos and a registered voter. If the city council opts to fill the vacancy by appointment, the Brown Act requires any interviews, deliberations, or voting concerning the appointment conducted by the city council to be held in open public session. In this case, a person either appointed or elected shall hold office for the unexpired term of the former incumbent. Under discussion, some jurisdictions have adopted ordinances, resolutions, or policies setting out the procedure for filling city council vacancies. The city of Los Banos does not have an established procedure for filling a city council elected mayor vacancy. So we're saying option or alternative one, appoint a qualified person to fill the vacancy for the remainder of the term. If the city council votes to fill the vacancy by appointment, the appointment must be made within 60 days of the city council seat becoming vacant. The 60th day from the effective date of Mr. Faria's resignation would be after the November 8th, 2022 general election. There is no legal requirement that the city council use any particular method of appointment. It is common in such situations for the city council to notice the vacancy and invite application. I should say applications plural. If the city council interviews, it must be done at a public meeting, although the meeting can be held at any time. The appointment must be made in public. This is not a permitted closed session discussion or decision. In anticipation of this option and the time constraints with 34 days until the general election, staff has posted on the city's website and city's Facebook pages a notice and invitation to interested persons that the city council would allow presentations at its October 5th, 2022 meeting to present their qualifications to fill the vacancy of mayor. A copy of the notice is included in your staff report. Alternative number 2, direction to staff. We are suggesting that staff will implement any further formal direction from the city council. Mr. Pro Tem, that would conclude my review of the item so far.
Thank you. Now I'll move to the council for discussion. I'll start at Councilmember Jones.
Let's see. We really need to fill the seat as quickly as possible. I would hate for an important agenda item to get dropped due to a split vote in government. Just as it is, we kind of waste a lot of time, and I don't see the need to wait until November 8th, the election results are certified on this. So I would like to move forward with appointing a mayor for the remainder of the unexpired term after we hear the, I guess you call it a presentation by the potential candidate. That is all.
Okay. We'll move down to Councilmember Lewis.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. For the audience, listening to the report that was read to you, and of course, there were two options given to us that we could either have a special election, which we can't because we're only 34 days away from a public election, which is November the 8th. And also, with the fact that the resignation was received and effective September the 17th, that's 55 days away from the election. The code gives us 60 days to consider making an appointment. And in California Government Code 36512, it also indicates that if the city council does not call an election pursuant to paragraph 2 of the law, the vacancy shall be filled at the next regular election date. So I have to ask myself, what's the urgency here? You know, a split vote is a split vote, and these things happen occasionally when city councils are without a fifth vote. It's not like we're sitting here 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months out without an election coming forth. I think some of the members of the council are looking to appoint someone who is unopposed at this time on the ballot. However, there's still time for someone to submit a legitimate write-in to run for the office of mayor. I'm not in the position at this time ready to make that decision, to make an appointment, because I don't think it's necessary. I think we need to wait for the will of the people. The last time we made an appointment was because there was going to be a 2-year vacancy, not a 34-day vacancy. So I personally feel that we need to wait for the will of the people, let them vote, and when that determination has been made, then we will seat the mayor as we should. I personally think there's an agenda behind this, and just as there were people on this council that were not happy with the fact that a majority made a decision to dismiss one of our employees, I believe that, and it's just my opinion, that this vote will be set forth to bring that employee back. So I want the public to have a clear understanding of what they're facing. And as I've indicated, I don't feel like it's necessary at this point. Waiting for another 34 days won't hurt the city of Los Banos. And our agendas can be adjusted so that if there's something truly critical that comes before the city, it could be set aside until after the election, and when we have the new mayor seated, then we can vote on those serious items. So I'm only one vote here tonight, but that's my position, is that I'm not prepared to make a vote tonight to seat someone as mayor when we only have 34 days for an election. Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Ms. Lewis. Councilmember Lamas. Councilmember Mumps.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Thought about this situation long and hard. One thing that I want to bring up is consistency and fairness of application. We just went through this process about a year ago in January. There was a publication to fill the seat. There was the dates for the various actions to be taken. There was a 2-3 page application that was set out. There was requirements that were set out to ensure that every applicant was qualified, such as requirements like filling out a Form 700, things like that, which is not being done this time. The interview process was published with all the questions published. And there was a voting procedure that was published as to how this process or selecting the applicant was going to be selected. None of those things are happening this time. I wonder, if there were an opening in the police department or fire department for a sergeant, would we change procedure and policy at the last minute? No, we would be consistent because we want buy-in from those affected. And in this case, we want buy-in from the public, knowing that we are not changing policies or procedures. Again, this is established now since we've done it, just because for expediency's sake. I don't believe that we should undermine the democratic process for expediency. I think we have 2, maybe 3 meetings before we can seat the next mayor, whoever that may be. But I believe it may be that one candidate. The only pressing issue that I see is our homeless situation. That requires immediate attention. That requires something that should have been done months ago. So that's where I'm hard pressed to continue with this process. I can tell you that I would like to have a more robust interview process so that the public is more engaged with this process. What's really weighing on me is the homeless situation. And a conversation I had with a certain individual about ideas about how to resolve this homeless situation before it got to this point. But then on the other side is that, are we going to do this just to rehire that employee who created this problem for the city because that individual refused to listen to reason or to outside ideas? We can't go and try to, we've seen what happens when we have someone with no experience, with no background, with nothing in their resume would show you that they have what it takes to be successful. At the same time, again, we have folks that are experiencing some very traumatic times. Any time someone could get hurt, somebody could get injured. And I just, I heard some members of the public say, what is so urgent? And that's the only thing I can think of that is being urgent is the homeless situation and the way it's affecting our residents, our fellow residents at that mobile home park, who often feel that because of their socioeconomic status, their voice doesn't matter, and it does matter. That's all I have to say, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Lamas. So I have a few things to say because this does matter to me. Whether it's a 2-2 vote, a 3-2 vote, whether it's for the good or the bad or for the best or the worst, we got to start somewhere right now to get our votes back, because if we could come up with an item that we don't need to drop, whether we put it on the agenda now or later. Some of these items, we need to start moving now. And we need the votes. Now, the city, just like before, I ran to support the city. And for the good of the city right now, we need a mayor, not a mayor pro tem in this position. Whether it's one that's going to be elected in November or it's someone that we can appoint tonight or whatever it is going to be. But we need a mayor in this position to have our votes that we need. It's not, there's nothing on the agenda that, everybody keeps pursuing that, it's a special agenda that we're trying to go through. No, we need the votes. A 3-2, 4-1. We need all of our votes back on this dais right now. So I'm for appointing a mayor for the remainder of the term. And then once the election is certified, and then we'll move on from that position too. So that's all I have to say. It's for the city, the best for the city. It's not what's best for us. It's what's best for you guys. So that's all I have to say. I have Miss Lewis. She says she'd like to come in.
Thank you. I just have one other comment, and that is, if any four of us that are sitting up here get sick, and we're sick for an extended period of time, it doesn't mean that we lose our position as council members. It means that you have four people that have to make decisions. And if we're making decisions, we should be making them for the betterment of our community, not for any particular agendized item or personal reasons or what have you. It should be for the best of the city. We've had this homeless problem off and on for quite some time, and there's been no resolution. We've asked staff to try to find land for us, and at our last meeting, the council was supposed to have discussion to move forward as to how we wanted to handle this, but that was bypassed. We didn't get to that part. It was right on the agenda. So, I would just ask us to consider whether or not we're really making an appropriate decision here tonight based on the fact that we only have 34 days left. And yes, we could still end up with four people sitting here if somebody gets sick, and we'll be right back in the same position again. So that's all I have to say. And I don't know that there are any pressing issues that are coming forward on our agenda because none of us see it, except that it's 72 hours before it goes out to the public. When the public sees it, the council sees it. So I don't know of anything that's super pressing that's coming forward. If somebody else does on this council, I'd like to hear it. Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Lewis. Councilmember Jones?
Yes, if our former mayor would have actually given us more than a one-day notice, maybe we could have had a little bit more of a bureaucratic process to discuss. The only person in the room that is here that has actually filed papers, I don't see any other potential candidates, even write-ins, in here. What I find extremely hypocritical is that you want to rush to hire a new city manager because you feel that's important, but you don't feel the mayor's seat is important to hire or to appoint right away. I think you guys are afraid of something happening, and I think you guys got to just deal with it, whichever way it comes. So to hold this off, what are your words? It's just a stall tactic. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. I'm also going to say one other thing. She said we'll remain if someone comes sick. So one of us comes sick right now with a 2-2, we don't have a forum. So there's no meeting if one of us gets sick, if it's 2 to 4 people up here. So.
What if 2 of us get sick? Now the whole meeting shut down.
So that's all the rest I have. Mr. Lamas, you had something else to say?
Yes, sir, Mayor Pro Tem. All valid reasons, all things to consider. The only thing I'll say is that no one's rushing to fill the city manager position. That's going through a process. Firm was hired. They were interviewed. They were given direction. They're putting out and doing things in methodical, open fashion, which is common practice. We're going according to established schedule, according to established procedure when hiring a city manager. There's nothing new there. We're not rushing through that process. And I think that, and that is what I have to say about that. But again, for me, the only pressing issue is the homeless situation. I think that I like the ideas. I believe in ideas, in the introduction of ideas, and open conversation, and open debate, because that's the only way you can come up with the best solution is to have difference of ideas and debate them. If you operate within an echo chamber, i.e., you just talk to folks that just agree with you, you're going down the wrong path. Eventually, you're going to get yourself or somebody else in trouble, or the organization that you represent in trouble. That's all I have. Again, thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lamas. Ms. Lewis?
And nothing.
Mr. Jones?
Going back to hiring the city manager, you guys want to hire them on a four-person vote, four-council vote, instead of having the word of a future mayor involved in it to help make a decision. That future mayor is going to be the one dealing with that city manager, and it's vital that that future mayor has a say in it before we hire a city manager. That's why we should not wait on this vote. That is all.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. That's all I have. We take a motion now? Councilmember Jones?
Well, hold on. We have to have the one candidate come forward and give a 5-minute introduction.
Mr. Oh, no, Ms. Lewis, you had a question?
Oh, was Councilmember Jones?
Candidate come forward and give a 5-minute presentation on why to appoint him as mayor.
So we're going to go ahead and open it up to the appointees at
Yes.
this time before we go. Or do we?
My question is to our city attorney, are we going to interview a candidate when we haven't made a vote or a decision as to whether or not we're going to move forward with the process?
So you probably need to put a motion on the floor as to how you're going to proceed from this point forward, whether you're going to proceed at all, whether you're going to give direction to staff, and start at that point. The process that's outlined in your staff report is just a suggested process. But I think that the council needs to affirm that one way or another before you go forward.
So we need to make a motion for the resolution first.
We didn't make a resolution.
No, I think there should be some motion to go forward with a process, either tonight at or a later time, or not to go through a process.
We have a public notice for them to come tonight for 5 minutes.
Yes, but it's the city council's meeting. You
I
can decide.
I can't hear you, so I need someone to speak up, the mayor pro tem and the city attorney.
It's the city council's meeting. It's the city council's process. If the majority of the council doesn't want to go forward with the process, you certainly can entertain a motion on that tonight before you start. The recommendations are 1 through 4 on your staff report, one of them being to go through this process, but there's also a recommendation to give direction to staff. And it seems to me clear from the comments tonight that there's potentially a deadlock on this, and it seems like you want to come to some kind of concurrence on whether you're going to go through this process tonight. So I think the appropriate thing would be to entertain a motion as to whether you're going to go forward with interviewing or allowing the candidate presentations at this meeting.
Mayor Pro Tem, I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to make a motion to consider the qualifications and presentations of other interested persons.
Therefore, I got a motion from Councilmember Jones to move forward with this item. And do I have a second? If I do not have a second, I'll second it. And I'll call it all in favor.
Aye.
Aye. Any noes? No. Okay. Motion failed. Or motion
Drops.
drops.
So yes, it fails, it drops, unless there's any other motions on the floor on this item, like further direction to staff.
Do I have any other further motions for the direction of staff? There is no motions.
Next item.
Item 12. notice and announcement of vacancies for the following city commissions and committees. We'll turn to the city clerk.
Notice and announcement of vacancies for the following city commissions and committees. Airport Advisement Commission, 4 vacancies. 3 two-year terms expiring December 31st, 2024. 1 unexpired term expiring December 31st, 2023. Measure H Citizens Oversight Committee, 3 vacancies. 3 two-year terms expiring December 31st, 2024. Measure P Committee, 4 vacancies. 3 three-year terms expiring December 31st, 2025. 1 unexpired term expiring December 31st, 2023. Parks and Recreation Commission, 3 vacancies. 3 two-year terms expiring December 31st, 2024. Planning Commission, there are 3 vacancies. 1 in District 2, expiring December 31st, 2026. 1 in District 3, expiring December 31st, 2026. 1 at-large vacancy expiring December 31st, 2024. And there's the Tree Commission, there are 2 vacancies. 2 two-year terms expiring December 31st, 2024. And as a special note, there's information regarding all the commissions on the city's website, and you can also access the application on the city's website. You can download it, or you can come by City Hall and pick up the application in the city clerk's office.
Thank you, Ms. Melanie. And if anyone is interested in any of these commissions, we welcome you guys to come up and fill out the applications for these vacancies. Thank you very much. We'll move on to our next item, item number 11, advisement of public notices. There's 1 report. We'll go to Community and Economic Development Director, Ms. Elms.
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. We do have a public hearing, which will be for Las Micheladas Bar and Grill. They will be located at 509 I Street. This is just across the alley, just south of City Hall. This will be a new restaurant in downtown. They are asking for the use of a Type 47 alcohol license for the on-sale of general alcohol at this location. The public hearing will be held on Wednesday, October 12th at 6 p.m. here in the City Council chambers. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Ms. Elms. We'll now move to the City Manager report. Interim City Manager, Mr. Wellman.
Great. My pen just ran out of ink. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you, Mr. Pro Tem. I'll abbreviate my comments if I may this evening. I've got police and fire on my mind, as a lot of people do, and if I may, would like to introduce the gentleman for which the council has approved his contract tonight. Can I get you to come forward? Paul, Mr. Chirala. Have I murdered you?
It's okay. It's totally fine. You can just call me Paul. I lower this down. I'm not as tall as everyone else. So,
Can we ask you to speak up and just pretend that's a big friendly ice cream?
good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, rest of the council, members of the city staff, and the public. Thank you for having me this evening. My name's Paul Twala. I've been working with the staff here, just trying to work on the contract. But I've met all of our nice folks over at the fire department. A good group of folks here. Look forward to working with them. Looking forward to working with you and the city and the members of the public in regards to our fire protection here in the city, especially with it growing. So I want to thank you for the opportunity. I also got to thank my wife, because I'm sure she's watching me right now. So she calls this my costume change, because I'll change to something different. So I have over 30 years of public safety experience in both our law, fire, and EMS. So I look forward to working here in City of Los Banos. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr.
Okay.
We've got a tremendous supporting crew, as you know, and before you came aboard officially, we've had a number of meetings with our firefighters and our organizations and stuff. So we're really looking forward to getting your recommendations on the path ahead so that our decision makers here can implement those. There's no time to waste, as
Right.
you know.
Yes, I know I got to hit the ground running, but also I got to thank Commander Reyna also for taking the helm and working with the fire department staff and kind of getting some of those things going.
Commander Reyna, would you come forward? I know I had talked to you before about making a partial introduction. Commander Reyna has taken over fire, and I would like to excuse Chief Breezy tonight. He's had a death in the family. Tell us what you know, or don't.
I'll tell you what I know. So Paul comes to us, he was born in Virginia, and he moved to California when he was in high school. So I guess we can consider you a Californian. Paul has, like he said, he has about 30 years of experience in law, fire, EMS. Paul was a police officer at one time, so that's probably one of the reasons why I really like him. But he's got a number of certificates in fireside, law enforcement, EMS. Paul has a master's degree in business administration. He is currently working for Sacramento Metropolitan Fire District as a fire investigator. He's also a part-time assistant fire chief with Montezuma Fire District that's in the Stockton area. He's also served as a fire chief at the French Camp McKinley Fire District in Stockton. He did that for about 7 years. So we're really happy to have him. I'm excited to work with him. And I also have to, you mentioned me working at the fire department. I started over there in about May. And so I have to publicly also thank Chief Breezy, Commander Meldon, and our police services manager, Brenda Geary, who have essentially taken on a lot more so that I could be with this fantastic group of fire personnel professionals behind me. They are a great, great group of people. We are very lucky to have them, and I am very, very lucky at this opportunity to work with them. So I appreciate it.
Commander Reyna, can I ask you, with the concurrence of the pro tem, to introduce the new organization chief who I met with yesterday? We had a very good meeting, and I appreciate his coming to the meeting this evening.
Okay, on the police side.
Yes.
Switching gears. Okay, yes. I'm sorry. You know, some days I don't know whether I'm at the police department or the fire department. So this is Officer Juan Soriano. He is one of our field training officers. He's a very talented member of our police department, and he is also the new police department association president.
And he's welcome aboard.
Thank you. My name's Juan Soriano. I've been on with the department for approximately 4 years. In those 4 years, the department's actually given me the opportunity to become a field training officer. I've been able to attend multiple events. I've been able to meet, have ride-alongs with several of the council members here, and I really appreciate that. The city's also given me the opportunity to be a motor officer, so usually you guys will see me on 2 wheels riding around. Currently have been assigned to the Police Officers Association president. I'm looking forward to that position and working with all of you. Thank you.
If I may, Mr. Soriano is going to be the one that we sit with across the table in our annual bargaining, and we are in receipt of a letter from the association, and I'm not going to get into that right now because we're constrained by Myers-Milius-Brown, as you know.
Correct.
But I like what I see. I like the opportunity of working with you for the few weeks that I have left.
Appreciate it.
And we want to make things better.
Awesome. Looking forward to it. Thank you. Excuse me.
Appreciate it. All right, concludes the city manager report. We'll now move to item.
I've got one other thing on my mind, and most of you know it's been on my mind since I walked through the door, and that's water. Fresh water, wastewater, stormwater. Any way you look at it, we're going to have to spend significant time planning for the future. We've got a lot of different ideas, meaning staff. We've got our planning director and our public works director and frankly, our finance director here with us tonight. And I've been pushing all three of them, probably too much. And I think Councilwoman Lewis made mention of that the other day on the phone to me. I'm very cognizant of the fact on my tenure, there's a limited number of weeks left, and there's a number of things that have to be done. And so I'm not going to quit pushing. On the freshwater side, we have chromium-6 we've got to treat for. And I'm looking squarely at you, Neron. I've heard estimates from 30 to 60 to 90 million dollars just to treat for that. We've also heard some alternatives that involve treatment of existing wastewater, flushing that through the aquifer, and reducing the amount of treatment that might be needed, or perhaps even eliminating the need for treatment. Sounds too good to be true, and it probably is. But Neron and Stacy are the ones that we're looking at to validate. I personally have met with 4 engineering firms, haven't spent a dime. These are all people that I know. And we are trying to set a meeting for the 18th or 19th as we speak with another firm in the local area. So we're trying to get the best practices in place, the best advice that we can on the freshwater side. On the wastewater side, I think it's fair to say that we need a credible estimate as to what you've got right now, 4.9 million gallons per day rated in your 7 ponds. I'm looking for a map. I don't have one. Okay. You've got 7 open ponds that you treat wastewater in right now. 4.9 million capacity rated by the Regional Wastewater Quality Control Board. An average utilization per day of 3.5 to 3.7. Is that okay? So I'm on the right track. All right. So with that, the question becomes, how many years, months do we have in front of us, given the current queue of development? So those are critical questions that should be answered. As I say, I haven't spent money yet, and I won't without coming back to the council. I don't operate that way. But at some point, we're going to have to invest in the future to get the credible data that we need to feel comfortable in working with the development community. In fact, I've involved a couple of them in our meetings today. So if we're looking at freshwater, wastewater, the other thing is stormwater. The city right now pays Grasslands Water District. Now, Neron, if I'm getting off track here, let me know, but we pay them $83,000 a year to convey our stormwater along their canal that they own. We're looking at, is there some wiser way of expanding our infrastructure so that we can carry more effluent water, and I'm saying treated water, to the grasslands or perhaps other areas? So, Mr. Pro Tem, we are all about water this week and last week, and I think we're going to have to spend some quality time with the council on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wellman. We'll move to our next item, item 13, the report update on Merced County Association of Governments, the MCHE, Peninsula Clean Energy, PCE, and Measure V Committee. At this time, we don't have anyone that has been to this meeting, so we have nothing to report at this time. And now we'll move to our city council member reports. And we'll start with Ms. Lewis.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I have a few items that I'd like to report on and some requests for direction. And I'm going to give these to Director Neron, our Public Works Director. And just, from our acting city manager speaking about Chromium 6, it was about 5-6 years ago. I think it was a company called Hexa something or other that we had hired to do a study that cost us quite a bit of money. But their outcome was that it would be like a filtration system that the city would need, similar to reverse osmosis. And one of the things that I'd researched and found out is for those people in the city of Los Banos who have reverse osmosis in your home, it should clean the hexane, the chromium 6 out of your water. So at least you should feel comfortable for that. But for the majority of people, I don't know what the percentage or the number of people in our city that has reverse osmosis. The other thing is, I've been made aware of by MCAG that our Measure V funding for the Pioneer Corridor and perhaps for the wayfinding to our junior college from the city on Pacheco Boulevard, Highway 152, is coming close to its cycle that's been allocated to the city of Los Banos. And it's kind of the old adage with government money: if you don't lose it, if you don't use it, you lose it. So I'm not sure at this point if they've met with Neron about this, but I know it's been quite some time since we've heard anything regarding the Pioneer Corridor, and we really need to get busy on that, or we're facing the fact that MCAG may redirect that money back over to the east side and it'll be gone. So I'd like, maybe if you can give the council a brief report coming up, perhaps at our next meeting, on what the status of that Measure V funding is for the corridor and where we are to be able to get that money off the books so that we're not losing it for our project and we can gain money for the future as been scheduled for that Pioneer Corridor to be able to move forward with the process. The other, sure.
We actually met on that today, and if you want Neron to give a synopsis, he can. But we met on the Pioneer Corridor today with a number of people.
Thank you, City Manager Wellman. So luckily, yeah, I was a little prepared for that. Thank you. So Highway 152, the Class 1 trails, so we have already get a Caltrans authorizations for the projects. So we are in the initial stage of design, that is to look into the feasibility of the north side versus the south side. As the funding is coming from MCAG allocation with the state, we do have to go through all the environmental clearance and feasibility for both the north and south to determine the best alignment for us. So our consultant actually just completed the total survey of that 2 weeks ago, and we are in the process of base mapping. So hopefully in the next 4 to 6 weeks or so, we'll have an initial analysis of the north and south side to present to staff. And once we have all the data verified, we can take those back to council to take a look at both of those alternative. So we have been in contract. We have an agreements with Govea Engineering to help assist us with this project. And MCAG are involved, so the funding has been secure and will not be lost for this project. Likewise, for the Pioneer Roads projects, we have actually a conglomerate of 6 to 7 different fundings. Everything ranges from Measure V down to the HIP, the LPP, various different cycles that is combined to a total of about $8 million for Pioneer Roads. That is to take us from environmental study all the way to right-of-way acquisitions. So currently, we already have, council have already approved 2 contracts. One's, actually 3 contracts, I'm sorry. One with Mark Thomas and Company. They are our transportation designer. Their contracts is about $2 million for the design and the project management of that. The second one is our right-of-way survey. So you have awarded contract to Monuments. They are the surveyor and assisting us to developing the initial base map. The third company is our environmental clearance, which is Galvin's and Associates. They are right now, you probably have seen on Pioneer Road, there are some survey marks already. So we have do the initial stage of looking at the entire footprint and boundary of the proposed Pioneer footprint. And starting next week, we will actually have biologists and archaeologists actually start doing the initial assessments of that entire corridor from the east alignment of the bank by the east of Los Banos Creek and 152 intersections down to actual Pioneer Road itself, going east all the way toward Ward Road intersection. So that is in place. We are hoping right now is to get the projects on tracks to have environmentally clear by early 2024. However, this project is both funded by Measure V as well as a bunch of other federal funds. We actually have to go through a NEPA process. So we actually have initiated Caltrans on 2 different occasions now. The latest meeting was last week, agreements on the type of environmental documents process that we will follow. So that's conclude my update.
Okay. Thank you very much. The next one I have for you, it's a question, and I'm probably sure that this should go to the Traffic Safety Committee. But I noticed on West K Street, coming west to 4th Street, that practically all of the state streets coming north that tee into West K Street do not have stop signs. So West K is through traffic, California, and on the other state streets, they all are through. And so it would seem to me that the state streets that tee off into K should probably have a stop sign because it just seems like there are accidents waiting to happen. So I know I've missed the agenda for this next Traffic Safety Committee, but I would like that to be put on the agenda for a study to find out why those streets do not have stop signs going north to West K Street. And this is for for Mr. Kewen. At our last meeting, we had talked about fee calculations as to whether or not you were going to be reviewing our fees to see if we were up to date in what we were charging for various categories and fees and for the city of Los Banos. We didn't give a date certain for you to come back with that information. So I would like to either, I don't know if you can have that ready by our next meeting or the first meeting in November, but I'd like to hear something back soon on that. And also, I'd like to add in, just for my edification and the public, is to find out the new sign that we have on West I Street and Pacheco Boulevard and the one that's proposed, whether the one on I Street is capable of paying for itself at this point, and the one coming in for the future, if the fees that are being charged now to project what we might be getting in the future, if it's enough to pay for those signs.
So on the developer impact fee side, I believe we are bringing that in the next council meeting.
Okay.
In regards to the fees relating to the signage, that would probably take a little bit more time. I'm not sure that will get onto the agenda, considering it has to be there by Wednesday. So
Yeah.
I'll take a look and maybe do an estimate. Maybe I can bring some comment to that. Were there any other fees that specifically that you were concerned about?
No, I think we probably discussed with you at the last meeting certain fees, but that was the only one. I think there was a statement made that those signs were paying for themselves, but
Okay.
I'd like to know if they actually are paying for themselves or not.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. And this is for our city manager and our city clerk. I would like to request for our next council meeting to invite our county representative, Scott Silvera, to the meeting, and also the county homeless deputy director to the meeting to explain to us what they are going to offer futuristically for the city of Los Banos. It's been proposed that on October 31st, the project room key will be closed down. So that means that the people that, our city has paid X amount of money and this program has paid X amount of money to keep that motel open to house people who are homeless, who want to go in. The county is no longer going to invest in that program. So I'd like to hear from those two county officials to see what they have proposed to help the city of Los Banos, because we're just a small community. Merced is considered not a mega community, but they are over 50,000 and they do get more money and funding than we do because we're still under 50,000 population. So we struggle a lot more to get the funding from the state and the federal government than what they do. So I want to hear what their proposal is to help us as far as closing up Project Room Key. That means that those people, I don't know if they're going to be able to house them someplace else or if they're just going to end up on the street as well. But we need help from the county. We have people out there that are mentally ill, and at this point, the only thing the state of California is offering to them is, do you want to accept help? Do you want to take medication? If they say no, there's nothing that anybody can force them to do anymore. There's no, in my opinion, Letterman Petra Short Act that's active in the state of California. They're free to do what they want to do. So I think that's important for our community to hear and this council to hear. And maybe we should have a task force put together of community members to help this council come up with some solutions. I think at our last meeting, there was a request to find property to move this homeless encampment because to me, it's unfair that the residents are being harassed, afraid, being bombarded by smoke and fire And it's just horrible. And I know our staff, they're doing the best that they can under the circumstance. But we need to find some better solutions to deal with what we have in this community. So if we can invite those two officials to our next meeting, Mr. City Manager, I'd appreciate that. And I'd like to congratulate our new fire chief appointed on your position. We welcome you aboard and look forward to working with you. I know your staff is going to be happy to have you on board. Not that Commander Reyna hasn't been doing a good job, but we need to get him back at the department where he works to keep our police department going. And lastly, I just want to say, you know, in our country, we have gotten to the point where we don't want to let processes happen. We have a process at the federal level, at state levels, at local levels, as to how we pass ordinances, how we elect people, how we do a myriad of things. And I would hope that Los Banos would be fair to its constituents who vote, who have the say in who they want to sit up here. There have been occasions in the past, and since I've been sitting here, where we had to make an appointment because of a 2-year vacancy when our former mayor went from city council to mayor. And that was a necessary thing. And we did take applications, we vetted people. And this is no disparaging remark against anyone who is running for office now, but I feel very strongly about processes. And so, however it turns out, you know, once the election happens, if this council votes to bring back a former employee, I may not like it, but I'll live with the process, because that's the process. It's the process by which we enacted at the mid part of this year. And the process wasn't acceptable by a lot of people in our community. But that's the democratic process of how things happen. And so I just want to express my opinion that however things turn out, I will live with it and work with it. But I still think we need to follow the process and honor the people who take their time to go to the ballot box and vote for somebody to be mayor or to be city council in the city of Los Banos. And that's all I have this evening, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lewis. We'll now go to Councilmember Lamas.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. I guess a couple of things more on a positive light. Thank the Parks and Recreation and the city staff for the Salute to Seniors event. It was a tremendous success. I think we need to do more things like that for our people that came before us, the trailblazers, the ones that sacrificed a lot more than we're sacrificing here today, even with the economy the way it is. So again, thank you for all staff for what they did. It was a tremendous success. I wish that we had more participation in that, because I think we need to pay homage to our senior citizens. Want to welcome aboard a new fire chief. Thank you very much for applying for it with us and accepting the position. We look forward to great things from you. And to start off, I'd like to state that our firefighters, they are operating under extreme stress. We are very short-staffed. Our calls are continuous, ongoing, day and night. They go from shift to shift. They come back, they have to refit the equipment, reset it, clean it, maintenance it in order for it to be back on the road. And these cycles are getting shorter and shorter. And that's causing a lot of fatigue. And the fatigue is dangerous, especially in their line of work, not only for themselves, for the people that are out there trying to service. So I'd like to have some kind of comprehensive report as to the state of the fire department, what we need to do to retain personnel, whatever that case may be. Again, that's not for me to decide how, but I ask that you take some time, and I'm sure you will, to provide us with the state of the fire department. Because I think it's way past due that we do something there. at one point, we had 3 firefighters, I believe, that were covering the whole city because we had a request for mutual aid. And we're coming out of the fire season, but again, now we're coming into the fire season for homes, people lighting fires in their homes or whatnot, or stoves catching on fire. So another cycle, high stress, high demand. So if you would, please, sir. And I think that also applies to our police department. Why are we bleeding personnel? I don't know why, and I'd like to know if we could provide some kind of comprehensive report as to what we can do, what needs to be done, what are our other agencies that are doing to retain and keep these personnel. Because if we lose a police officer to another agency, that's not just a vacancy. They're taking with them that corporate knowledge, if you will, of known gang members, their modus operandi, safe houses, how they operate, who known activities, where the activities, what they do. They're taking all that knowledge, and it takes years to get that knowledge. And so we're losing that. And so when that happens, we create a vacuum where these organized crime individuals, they take advantage of that, and we have increasing crime. And it takes a long time, again, to get that officer, again, to get that street knowledge, to be savvy with this area. And then again, that has to do with the increased rapid expansion of our city. As we grow, we have all these developments, that increases the area responsibility for our fire department and for our police officers. So we need to really understand the long-term ramifications of this rapid expansion and how it's affecting our personnel. Because I think that first, the responsibility of our city is public safety. So secondly, or next, is the homeless situation. I'd really like to have that brought back to give us staff's recommendation as to what we need to do or how we can address this issue with the current homeless enclosure. I'd also like to see if we can reach out to Mr. Romig and Mr. Bruce Metcalf, who are principals in the tiny homes. Those are the modular homes. I believe that other municipalities have had success with that. Last month, I had the opportunity to sit in on a roundtable, if you will, with the county supervisor, Mr. Metcalf, the deputy director for homelessness, Mr. John Checkley. And I too would like to have invite Mr. John Checkley to see what is out there, what monies they have, and how we can partner with the county to address these issues, because we need to take action on that. Water and development, and that's about accountability with our developers to ensure that they're doing what they're building appropriately. That's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Lamas. Councilmember Jones? No report, Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you, Mr. Jones. I've only got a couple of things. First of all, my condolences to our chief in his loss in his family member. I also want to welcome aboard Mr. Tuala. Hope I said that right. I look forward to watching and see how you adapt to Los Banos. You got some wonderful firemen and chiefs and captains over there. I don't have much more to say tonight, except let's go Los Banos. So now we'll move to adjournment. I'll make a motion. Take a motion for adjournment. Councilmember Lamas.
So moved.
Councilmember Lewis.
Second.
Motion from Lamas and second from Lewis to adjourn. All in favor? Aye. No opposed. Meeting adjourned at 8:19.